With that, let's kind of get into it. Let's start talking about what everyone's talking about. And to me, I think this is something that is kind of special because for our first episode, I get to talk about a living legend, and that is Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson broke the internet with his 5-second clip and then broke it again when he came out with the 21-second clip. I thought that, him being involved in boxing was pretty much dead. I thought that he was not going to be coming back in any way, shape, or form. So for him to come in and start showing that he's starting to get serious about it was really interesting. This is him before he started training. This is him now. I mean, he looks fantastic. Immediately, Shannon Briggs started getting involved, and when Shannon Briggs gets involved, it's going to kind of turn into a circus, so to speak. There was an account saying that, Shannon Briggs and that Mike Tyson were going to fight, and it was going to be $20 million fight, and it was going to be bare knuckle and all this stuff. Later, it turned out to be fake. Of course, Shannon Briggs is going to continue to try to get himself and insert himself into this whole situation. Even today, he said that, he talked with Mike and it's official, they're going to fight. I don't really believe that. I don't really ever believe Shannon Briggs when he says this kind of stuff. The most likely thing that's actually going to happen, and what I would put my money on, Holyfield and Tyson having this trilogy. When, Evander Holyfield was on Joe Rogan's podcast, Evander was talking about coming back and kind of doing kind of sparring and stuff like that. Evander made it very clear that this was going to be for exhibition, and it was going to be something that he does purely as a way to raise money for certain causes and charities. He even said stuff like, there's going to be no, hitting to the head. It's just going to be body work. It's going to be kind of like light sparring and stuff like that. He talked about, Riddick Bowe possibly being a candidate for this. But what makes it even more interesting is when, Mike Tyson was on with Joe Rogan a while back. Joe started talking to Mike about the idea of his son, Mike Tyson's son, fighting as a professional fighter. And Mike immediately was like, I don't think he is. He grew up a very privileged lifestyle. I don't see him going into that world. I don't want him to go into that world. And then, Joe kind of asked, Mike, so do you kind of hit the heavy bag, show him a few things here and there? And Mike immediately was like, no, I don't work out. I don't do any of that stuff. Joe was like, why not? And Mike made it very clear that he's highly competitive. When he starts working out, or he starts kind of getting back in that world of boxing, he starts feeling like he could really compete, and that he wants to compete. He wants to be competing against not just people probably his age, but, actual professional fighters. Evander talked about it kind of being friendly and kind of this light sparring and exhibition and everything like that. Mike kind of talked about the fact that he kind of can't help himself, that if he gets in that competitive mode, that he almost goes for it, and he wants to be in that competitive kind of world a little bit when he starts working out, or he starts feeling that kind of confidence again. Whether or not it's going to be friendly sparring if they go at it again, I don't think it would be. After the internet went so crazy over those clips of his, I really think Mike Tyson, I would not be surprised if we see Mike Tyson actually square up with a real heavyweight. Not someone that's like a Anthony Joshua, not a Tyson Fury, not a Deontay Wilder type, but someone that's maybe in the top 80, a no name to you and me, but someone that they can kind of prop up with like a perfect record, and someone that Mike can go in there and probably beat. And if that happens, it could be really interesting to see what happens for Mike and where he decides to go with this. I almost think Mike's using the Evander fight as, I'm going to just try it, and then he's going to just keep going with it, regardless of whatever he decides to do, or regardless of if he decides to really be back, or if these are just exhibition fights for charity and just to kind of make some money. I really hope Mike just takes his health into consideration, and regardless of everything, I wish him the best, and I hope he does make plenty of money off of it, because boxing, as we all know, is no joke, and guys fighting at 53 years old, it's just a little bit scary to watch, and I don't love the idea of them fighting. That said, if Mike Tyson's fighting, I am buying the pay-per-view. I am absolutely watching that, and I'm sure you are too. Kind of speaking of Evander Holyfield, this week he talked about the fact that he believes his son could be better than he was in boxing. I think that's very sweet of Evander Holyfield to say that. I think that's very encouraging of him to say something like that about his son. I don't believe it. I don't know if Evander actually believes it. I'm not doing that to diss his son or kind of be harsh on his son. The reason I say that is because Evander Holyfield is a very special and very different kind of fighter. He had that rough upbringing, which a lot of fighters have, but the thing that made Evander so ferocious in the ring and made him so driven in the ring was the fact that he felt for a very long time like he wasn't getting recognized the same way Mike Tyson was, and that kind of drove him to be the fighter he was. It drove him to try to be this person that people saw and actually recognized for the skill he had and the warrior mentality he had. I hope that his son does do well, and I think it'd be a very special moment for him and his son if his son wins a title or wins a couple big fights. You know, that's fantastic, and I wish him all the best, but I don't truly believe his son's going to be a Hall of Famer in the same way, you know, Evander Holyfield is.